So they say Trump is finally going to release the Epstein files, and he's taking credit for it with all of his chest, even after he's been trying to block it all of this time.
Because President Trump has now signed the Epstein Files bill into law, the final step to force the Justice Department to turn over everything it has on Epstein within the next 30 days. Part of the president's lengthy statement, I'll read it here, where he said, quote, Jeffrey Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, with an exclamation point, was a lifelong Democrat, donated thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians, and was deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures. The president goes on to write, perhaps the truth about these Democrats and their associations with Jeffrey Epstein will soon be revealed because I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. Trump says, as everyone knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass this bill in the House and the Senate. That, of course, came after he fought the bill, but he concluded with, this latest hoax will backfire on the Democrats just as all of the rest have. Thank you all for your attention to this matter. Of course, this is the bill that the president spent months trying to kill. He is now taking credit for its passage on Capitol Hill after it became clear that it was going to pass at least the House.
You see how that goes? Like now it's like, oh, it's clear that the House was going to pass it. Now he's like, oh, I'm going to pass it. I'm going to do you guys a favor and expose the Democrats. Like, now it's all about exposing the Democrats, but you've been trying to block it all of this time. Let's move on, man.
While it's a moment that so many of Jeffrey Epstein's survivors that you've heard from here on this show have waited so long for, it is notable the president did not mention the women who fought for this bill's passage in his post tonight. The fact also that the president didn't take the opportunity to sign it today before cameras is notable, given how many bill signings and executive orders he has regularly turned into lengthy Oval Office events and press conferences. That would seem to differ from what the president has been saying over the course of the last few months, as his team has been trying to make the entire Epstein saga go away.
It's really a Democrat hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. I call it the Epstein hoax. I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring.
The whiplash over Trump, Bondi, and Patel's hyping and then downplaying and then hyping again the Epstein investigations is even being felt by some of the president's biggest supporters in MAGA.
I heard it's a hoax. And then all of a sudden, he's going to release the files. Well, I thought there was no files.
Man.
He wants an investigation now.
Listen.
Like, what is going on?
So even, as you can see, Trump supporters are getting tired of him flip-flopping on these files. You dig what I'm saying? They want to see the files. It's allegedly some more of his Republican supporters that are now tired of it, and they're airing out some of the stuff that they found in these files, allegedly.
Tell you something about my relationship with Donald Trump that tells me he knew a lot about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing back in the day. So let's just start with these emails where Epstein says that Donald Trump was the dog that didn't bark, meaning Donald Trump knew something that was bad, because Epstein even references cops in that email. So this is not an innocuous thing that Donald Trump knew but hadn't yet talked about. It's bad. And then you have Epstein sending an email to Ghislaine Maxwell back in 2011 saying that Donald Trump spent hours at his house and that with one of the victims, it was Virginia Giuffre. And Ghislaine says, yeah, I've been thinking about that. So there's no evidence in these emails that Donald Trump himself did anything wrong. But there is clear evidence that Donald Trump knew some of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, and some of it was bad enough that the cops were involved. So now my relationship. I knew Donald Trump for many, many years. When he was doing The Apprentice and I was starting out with Celebrity Justice back in 2002, you know, all the way through the time when he became president, we talked on the phone a lot. And he was a gossip. He loved to gossip. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, a lot of people gossip. He loved it. And look, I don't think I'm the only person who's saying this. I mean, people who knew him, reporters, he just loved to gossip. And I have to say that when you deal with him personally, he is a very charming, personable, and even funny guy. And that was kind of our relationship when I would call him about a story or whatever. And so, I'll give you an example. I remember there was one time when Donald Trump, I was actually in his office, and he pointed out the window to a building, and he said, I'm not going to name the person because I have no idea whether this is true or not, but a very famous person would bring women to the apartment building and have sex with them. So that was a gratuitous comment that had nothing to do with why I was there, but he just liked to gossip. So, the idea that Donald Trump would wall himself off from something scandalous that Jeffrey Epstein was doing and not want to know about it, I'm sorry. I'm just not buying it. And I don't think many people are.
So he says maybe he's not guilty, but he knows a lot. But then this lady says maybe he is, or at least he was accused of doing some things that are way more serious than what Harvey is implicated.
To be honest with you guys, I actually went through the files this weekend in depth. Donald Trump is not only named over and over in them, it is discussed this trial in which he was accused of a 13-year-old at Epstein's house. There is extensive discussions about a subpoena of Donald Trump in one of Jeffrey Epstein's cases in which he was accused for and sexual abuse. He was subpoenaed and gave a deposition in that case. There is extensive discussion between Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Mr. Wolf about not only Trump coming to his house, but Epstein says in these emails that he has photographs of Trump with girls.
And so there's a lot of accusations flying and this, that, and other. And I know Republicans are going to be irritated with this, but it is what it is. I'm not saying that all of this stuff is true, but we're not saying that every name that's mentioned in the Epstein files is that eats babies and all this stuff. But we're saying we have to take a look at seeing if it is some wrongdoing there. Like some people may have just been there to party and left before all the weirdness happened. Some people may not, but the fact that Trump has been trying so hard to keep these files labeled as a hoax or they don't exist, it's weird, man. And I know that's your guy, but at some point you got to start, you can't just keep blindly defending this dude, man. You can like him, but if he was off the scale doing some crazy stuff, at some point, you understand what I'm saying? But even with all of this flying, we have to even wonder that whatever they offer us at this point, is that still even true? Because it's going to be so much redacted and this, that, and other. But keep in mind, it's made it into the government's hands, right? As this gentleman explains so very eloquently. I got these thoughts from him, so I don't want you to think they're mine. But he brought up the fact that, what can we even trust what they tell us at this point that they finally open the files up?
My stance on this has always been the same. When he died, my first tweet was, if Jit dead, so is the list. You were never going to get the real Epstein list, the real Epstein files. As soon as it became property of the U.S. government and the only man that could tell you whether or not they're telling you the truth passed away in his cell randomly, the Epstein files became whatever they tell you it is. So whatever comes of these new release files, just understand it's not the full story. It's probably twice as bad because they lied to you. They've been constantly lying to your face. And then all of a sudden, everybody had a change of heart. Everybody had a change of heart. The president lied to you. The FBI lied to you. The AG lied to you. They said all these different things. And then one day, everybody had a change of heart. Randomly. They want you to believe that people that have been lying to you all this time, one day woke up and decided, we're going to give you the truth. Actually, how about this? You stop me when I'm lying. Maybe I'm tripping, but didn't the president say he was going to release these files? Along with the JFK and the MLK stuff, which he signed executive orders to get released, I'm pretty sure I heard him say, yes, I'm going to release those files. But then we get reports of him backdoor trying to stop the files from being released. And every time somebody asks him about the files, he gets upset. Quiet, piggy. Or, I don't know what you guys are talking about, why you guys are still talking about this guy. Maybe we're still talking about it because we've been talking about it, and you said you was going to show us, and you ain't showing us nothing. I just find it very, very interesting and very flip-floppy for somebody who has nothing to hide. But anyways, maybe I'm tripping, but didn't the FBI say they were going to release these files? Then all of a sudden, when people started asking for the files, it was, hey, there's no credible information. He was doing this stuff with other people, so we're not going to waste your time. First of all, that's not what we asked for. We asked for the files. And you keep talking about credible information. I think there is credible information because every time y'all release something, there's something credible in there, okay? Maybe there's a congressperson that's texting this convicted during government hours. Is that not credible enough? Anyways, maybe I'm tripping, but didn't the AG say they were going to release these files in phases? With an S, plural. Then they released phase 1. And we never got another phase again? Okay. Anyways, listen, there's only 2 types of people in a situation like this that can tell you the truth. And that's the perpetrators and the victims. Y'all don't be believing the victims. One of the perpetrators did himself in jail. And the other one is a ghost, waiting in the system for the president to pardon them. I seen Diddy's wreck yard photos. Haven't heard or seen nothing from this one. Anyways, and y'all keep talking about national security risk. As if y'all don't have text messages between Epstein and a sitting member of Congress right now. Explain that to me. Actually, how many of y'all had his personal number? His email? What were y'all talking to him for? What type of information and dirt did he have on your co-workers, your colleagues, that you were reaching out to him for information? It's like he's a spy or an asset, or maybe he knows some spies and some assets that's connected. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day. You know I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. But if I don't, stay out of trouble.
So as you can see, there is a lot of questions to be asked surrounding this topic. And it's like, at this point, as much as back and forth, it's a hoax. It's not. Are we to really believe that whatever they do decide to release is not going to be redacted to the point of that it doesn't make any sense? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to black out so much stuff and leave out so much of the story at this point that you have to even wonder what story they're telling us. You dig what I'm saying? At this point, it's allowed to be too edited. But we still are all patiently waiting, as we have been, to see what's in there. Because we know where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's been a lot of smoke surrounding this situation, especially with the president and why he keeps trying to convince everybody that this is a hoax, when it's clearly a bothersome topic for him. Like, you know, who gets that mad at like an alien hoax that got pulled? You just be like, oh, it was a hoax. He gets actually mad when people ask him about it in interviews, and he starts to go off on these people. You know what I'm saying? when they asked about, what was that? They asked about Neil Armstrong, about the moon landing being a hoax and this, that, and other. Neil was ready to go off on people. Neil was about to scrap with some reporters, I heard. He was swinging. Hey, no, he wasn't swinging on people. But you dig what I'm saying? But my point is, if it wasn't a hoax, like, Neil got too mad for, like, no, I know you get tired of the questions, but when you're looking at the moon landing, a lot of that stuff surrounding it does not make sense. The footprints don't match up to the shoes that the astronauts were wearing and the shoes that were printed that they showed to be that they stepped on the moon. The president called the the astronauts from a regular landline phone. Like, you know what I'm saying? They were showing them jumping around on the moon, and somebody noticed there were no stars in the blackness of where they was jumping around. Like, and then somebody's like, "Hey, Neil, we noticing all this stuff," and then he gets mad. Much like the president gets mad when people ask him about these files. But you kind of put yourself here, because you, the one, have been saying other files are boring, they're not worth looking at, but I'm going to release them. You've been telling people you're going to release them. So now they held you to that, and now you're irritated. Either way, we're going to see what's in them or what's not in them. I don't know, you know. But at this point, whatever they show us, I'm sure has been chopped and screwed and edited quite a bit by people who have been able to have part in that process. But anyway, it's your boy P. Camp. Let me know what you think, what you don't think. Get at your boy.